Okay, items from my side. I got a conclusion, I think, of what a product looks like for the mic recording thing that we've talked about for several months now. Um,
Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
I got a progress update on the build of Artifact, which is not that great a progress update, but anyway. And I got some feedback on GPT 4.5 as a model,
Hmm. Oh,
and
it's quite
that's
expensive.
quite
Yeah,
expensive. That is eye-wateringly
it's
expensive.
quite expensive. Yeah, quite
Um,
expensive.
but yeah, that's me. Is there anything from your
Okay.
side, or
Well, from
you?
this, yeah, no, I was saying I essentially took a week's air break
All right.
uh,
Um,
to think. So
also,
there's
also
other
Anthropic.
opinion, nothing to go.
Anthropic rolled out 3.7 Sonnet that has thinking, which is
Yeah,
actually awesome.
yeah. I've been playing around with that a lot. Um, it's good.
It is very good. Yeah.
But yeah, um, it could. Well, in certain areas, I think it exceeds O3 Mini. But
Yeah, in certain areas.
I'd
I
like to
still
hear
ain't
your
seen
thoughts on that.
anything exceed O1 Pro in terms of computation.
Mm.
Um, and 4.5 is my new best friend.
Really?
Yeah.
No, not Sonnet. Oh, thank goodness
I
for Sonnet.
moved to Sonnet for a bit and then I was having fun with it. And then I was like, 4.5 has got some spunk. It's got something going on that the other models don't. And that is that
Mm.
it is much better. The type of problem that I struggle with the most is ones where I don't quite know what I'm asking, but I'm trying to gesture in the direction. And
Yeah.
4.5 seems to get that better than any other model
Mm.
by not just a little bit, by like a lot. And I guess it's a case of, well, it either gets it or it doesn't. And if it gets it, then you're going to feel like that's brilliant compared to something that doesn't. So I don't know how to measure how much it gets it. The fact is, it gets it, and um,
For the task given, you're getting great results. That's really interesting.
yeah. But it's
Yeah.
very it's not it hallucinates. It makes errors, but if you're asking for explanations or generalizations or um, if you're just trying to get linked in to the body of knowledge in the world because you're stuck somewhere, it helps
Mhm.
immensely to connect you back up to other lateral knowledge areas that can help you get back on your way. And that's pretty magic.
Hmm.
That's pretty magic.
Hmm. And this
Um,
is all still in the engineering software maths space.
yep, but I would say this is my favorite tool for architecture.
Mm.
Architecture, like creatively solving for a problem that was poorly described. This thing is gold. O1 Pro doesn't do that. It when you tell it what to do, it does it better than anyone else. But
Mm.
lateral
I,
thinking's not its thing.
that's interesting because I've been getting seeing really sweet results from V7 Sonnet, um, but not. I've not challenged it in engineering. I've challenged it in a kind of horizontal sense, trying to poke holes in it and see what it does, and it's uh, it's actually very internally coherent. I've not tried it but you have on like engineering tasks. So I'll give you an example actually. One of my favorite go-tos is to try and get, if we're talking about horizontal understanding of, the current situation, uh, and having a conversation where you're trying to effectively have a very smart person to talk to, as opposed to, something to do a piece of work for you. One of my go-tos is, let me take a photo of this. I'll send it over. How good it is at producing. This sounds bizarre, but it's actually quite insightful the way, or the number of iterations you need to go through. Produced a piece of satire based on current knowledge, and it did quite well on this one. Let me send it over. The drawing's mine. It's just a wee sketch. But the situation. Oh, I'm off to one side. You can't see all. Let me send you another one.
Is that it?
A second. No, it's just because I'm wearing my visor while I'm trying to send it. Oh yeah, there you go. Right. Now, I created the sketches just because it was fun. But 3.7, I was chatting to it about, the current situation around geopolitics, and then added in saying, how would Gary Larson think about this? And it described this scene, so I thought I'd sketch it. But that's pretty interesting.
I don't know who Gary Larson is,
Quite funny as well. You don't know who Gary Larson is?
and I also
Oh,
don't
man.
understand the joke.
Okay. All right.
But that's fine.
The
That's
joke's
fine.
quite. Oh man, you don't know who Gary Larson is?
No, I don't.
I
I
can't believe you
don't.
just said that.
Can I? Well, what are we doing? Can I give you an example
Anyway,
of where I
sorry.
found it useful?
Yes, please. Yes.
So here was an example of remember how one of the big divisive architectural calls that I made in Interbit was to build Interbit on Interbit, and got an immense amount of pushback for that from varying areas. Running that through throughput 4.5, it actually was quite encouraging of that decision, because it said that even if you don't actually intend to run a system on the system itself in production, the benefit is in the good coding practices that it forces you to follow to even be able to imagine that you could run a system on itself is very beneficial to the code quality. That's what it was getting at. And it made it really hard for us.
I remember it vividly, and probably still got the scars.
It
But
may have
did it
actually
pick up
just been
on
always
the
hard, though. That's the thing. Like, to actually do it properly may have actually just been really hard, and that to do it sloppily would have been easy, but we would have come a cropper eventually. But being forced to do it properly because we chose to build it on itself meant that you couldn't really cheat or sloppy out.
So how deep did its thinking go? Because one of the main reasons for building a system using the system itself is that if you make a small mistake, it fractures really easily.
Yep.
So you catch mistakes very early. Did it
And
pick up
harshly,
on?
like it has a great
Yeah,
it has a great failure
yeah,
mode, which is complete.
yes, yeah. Did it pick up on that? Just out of curiosity, because that was the
um,
thing that we had trouble getting over to our previous esteemed leader on why that was a good thing.
abstracting dependencies prevents hidden coupling, so that could be part of that.
Yeah.
No, not
Well, this is
really. I would
a
say
live
not
this
really.
is a live thread. Ask about
N-
its approach.
No, I don't want to.
Um,
I don't want to be.
you don't want to.
No,
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I'm just very curious.
you have the
Very
model.
curious.
You can play with the model. I'll share you this link if you want to play
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. So, all right. This is your new favorite one
Yep, for architecture, for
for
reasoning,
architecture. Interesting.
for doing things that I know. I will come to this thing to figure out. This thing is like the oracle on the mountain telling me what I should be doing with my life. Then I take that and go to O1 Pro and be like, O1 Pro, this is what we got to do. And then O1 Pro whirs away and does it right, pretty much. And then I go and build with that. And then I use 3.7 Sonnet Thinking to do like little minor code edits and tweaks and fix up the linting and do all that.
Yeah. I think. Well, I've not tried it for that. But Sonnet really, I think, it's great as it's kind of a whiteboard where you don't need to keep on, reinforcing what you're trying to do because it's not trying to get accuracy. It's going wide,
Yeah, wide. Yeah,
or
that's
seems to
right.
be going wide.
That's right. That's right. But it does
And
come
then you
back.
switch to another model to go.
Yeah, it comes back very briefly and succinctly as well, which is another. It's got excellent fan out, but it also has great fan in. Whereas,
Yeah.
like O1 will just talk too much. It'll
Uh,
write forever.
right. Right. So 3.7 is like great for it's not quite a kind of brainstorming thing, but it's when you're trying to refine what the hell that you want to talk to another model about.
Yeah,
But not in the engineering tech maths thing.
yeah.
But on almost anything else. So
So,
I don't have it available right
yeah,
now, but
what? Why
I was
not?
talking to 3.7
Why don't you have it available?
uh, because uh, my machine is largely stuffed. It's still. I can send you over a link later on. It's all over the place. Basically, I was being quite messy. But what I was doing was pinging between 3.7 and DeepSeek in order to try and remember it was taking a bit of an air break, so I wasn't being very diligent about it, but trying to figure out, okay, so we've got these, we've got Artifact, we've got Exec, we've got Overwatch, and um, what I want to do is to figure out what incentivizes people and so on, which is a wide area. And then I was pinging backwards and forwards. DeepSeek is very good at pulling information from other areas, but its context window is quite small. But if you manage to hone in where you're going with 3.7, go to DeepSeek, and then use that as almost like the next prompt, then you get quite a virtuous cycle going on here. I'll send over what I'm meaning about at the moment, but it's all over the place, and there'll be far too much Tempest to show my screen at the moment. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I took a week off, man.
Okay.
But that's the That's the general feeling I get from 3.7. 3.7 is really actually quite excellent.
Yeah, I think so too. It's a workhorse. It's a workhorse.
But
4.5 is a
but
dreamer,
not
and 01 Pro is like a master craftsman. But 3.7 is a workhorse.
yeah. 3.7 is like your smart mate. 01 is like your architect,
Yeah.
and 4.5 by sounds of it is like your dev team.
No, 4.5 is like someone that you call on for very high level advice, the consultant.
Okay, yeah, cool.
Right, what else have we got? This has been 4.5 has been primarily what I've used day to day for the last since it came out. Actually, if that says anything about it.
Is the token still under the Pro?
On the
Because
Pro,
on
you get
YouTube, there's lots of people going, "Oh my god, it's so expensive." I've not actually looked.
on the API.
Is it
Yeah,
on
it's
under Pro?
pricey, but it is under Pro. Yeah, it's just unlimited use. I assume I've been using it all day, every day, and it hasn't stopped me. I can't seem to fit more than about 20,000 tokens into the questions, so I have to be very sparing in what I get in there. Whereas, like, 01 Pro can take 80,000 tokens in, no problem. But 4.5, they seem to have limited it. The window is 128K, but when I go to chat with it, I haven't been able to get it past 20K.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And how is it on thread length before it loses the plot?
I haven't seen it lose the plot, but my pattern of usage doesn't typically go on very long. Anyway, like
Right.
I aim to end or restart or edit messages. I don't like long threads. I lose the plot with long threads probably before the bot does.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. I'll give it. I think it's more important for you, because I'm quite happy with 3.7. Well, 3 Mini still has a role as well, um, but more as this kind of multi-model idea where you get the bots to argue with each other, which is quite fruitful. But
Have you thought more about what we're
on Tech
doing
04
in your week off? Did you daydream about what we were doing?
constantly, yeah.
And
What I'm trying to
what'd
do
you
is
come up
actually
with?
trying to prove it's wrong. I was trying to prove
Okay,
it's
well,
wrong.
what is it for starters? This never mind whether it's wrong or not. What is it?
Right. Well, okay. So we've got the three things, right? We've got the execution layer, which the artifact and everything is needed to actually run these things, which is extended into models and so on. And you've got the current model state, and then you've got the Overwatch. Sorry, you got the current, not the current model state. Sorry, the you got the Overwatch looking at how the three interact, and the third one is how it interacts. So it's that kind of cycle of Overwatch looks to see if there's any anomalies, updates any meta rules, executes it, and then we just put in our first guess, which would be our weightings, and allow it to run.
Okay.
So
So let me try
ran it
and
through a few. Second.
I want to try and pull even more out of that, separate even more out of that model. The ability to upgrade it, I think, is an agent unto itself, or a NAP, much less than an agent, where the configuration and the effort required to have something that decides whether or not to merge an incoming pull request to cause an upgraded or iteration on the version of a particular piece of software, that is generic over all software packages. And I figured that, there's kind of not that many parameters that you'd need to be able to configure that tool with, wherein it could do the Dreamcatcher agent upgrade, it could do the artifact upgrade, it could do, any little nap you wanted to make. This agent, if you chose to select it and put it in charge of saying yes or no, that's totally separate from the Dreamcatcher agent.
I'd had that previously in Overwatch. What's the benefit of going from 3 to 4?
Well, what's Overwatch? Is Overwatch the... Maybe we should settle on some names for these things. I'd called that agent
so
the
by
change control
Overwatch,
agent.
Overwatch is looking for anomalies or potential benefits of a change to the actual overall system, including itself.
Right. That sounds like that can be scoped down to be targeted at a particular package. It need not be global and try and watch everything. It can just watch whatever you tell it to watch. And that sounds like we had used the term Overwatch before to mean a different thing, which was a sort of an awareness of the surroundings, where it would watch Twitter, watch YouTube, then try and pull out ideas and things from it. But now you sound like you're using it as a guard or a watchdog.
Yes, it's the trigger point of watching the whole system that has its own rules expressed, and then a very simple set of divergence, convergence on those. And if it starts to diverge with the application of an update, it's like, bad thing. Converges, then good thing.
No, that's
So
external
yeah,
again, buddy. I think I'm pretty sure that's not essential to launch
shall we add
with.
another one? You reckon?
No, it's
Oh
just not. That's just a feature. That's a
Yeah.
nice to have thing.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is the three that we were talking about last time was actually fractal. So you can choose your level.
What were the
You
three?
want to go down to. The artifact, the expression of that in choice of weightings, and Overwatch to make sure it's not deviant, unintended consequences. You have those three, then you've got a tight system which is actually practical. You can pull that down to any layer. You could pull it right down to a single app and still have those three, and have everything above it dictated.
Oh, you're
But what we
saying
want
that
to do is
basically that arrangement of artifact, then the application itself, and then this thing that decides whether it's time to upgrade or not, that stack is kind of universal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can
Yeah, so I think
choose
that
the
yeah,
layer that you're going to.
that
Sorry.
well, because artifact's not an agent. Artifact is just what everything runs on, and that that watch thing is just I just called that the change control bot, because that's really what it's in charge of, right? Is when it's time to...
Yeah. You're right in that I've overused that name, or I've duplicated a name that we pre-used for something else. You're quite right.
Yeah.
But the job of it is to be a tripwire to say, hold on a second,
Yeah, that
over
sounds like
continued
something separate again.
outcomes and something weird.
That's a safety thing that may or may not be part of the decision on whether to release a new version. Um, anyway, look, I feel like either way,
Yeah,
these are relatively simple pieces that we can iron out at some later date.
yeah. Well, interesting enough that that pattern, and yeah, you're right. The Overwatch is we could split that out into two parts of what Overwatch is there is to basically give a yes no. If you've got an application that says these are the metrics that we want to measure ourselves on, here is the substrate that's running on, and we've got a proposed change, or you know, perhaps every month or whatever. Let's just check. Um, is the system working correctly? So it's like a tripwire. But what you're saying is then, well, the so what? What are you going to do about it? Which is the kind of change control piece. Is that right?
Not, no, not exactly, but it's not far off enough that I think it matters. I don't think it matters. Um, these pieces
All right.
will come together naturally anyway. I think they've been reduced down enough that you can only do them fucking so many ways. So I don't think it matters anymore.
But yeah, um, I'm kind of having reached a three. I'm loath to add a fourth, but also you don't want to overload
Yeah,
any
maybe
one of
it's a
those.
4, maybe it's 5, but the implementation will shake that all out. I think it's clear now what our path is.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so what now? I'm still working on
So,
Artifact.
yep, you're working on Artifact. Out of the air brake, I'm going to go back and start to think about and write the bots for um, our first go at Treacher, and the I think we called it Guardian, didn't we? Did we call it Guardian?
Did recall
It's
what?
the tripwire. It's like it. What I was talking about with Overwatch. It's the tripwire. It's like
Hang on,
the
hang on, hang on, hang on,
external
hang on.
logic.
We ended up back down the hole of defining these things. Like, do you want to be defining them now,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or what?
No, no, no. I think I think I'm misusing the or I'm overusing a word, which you reminded me of there. That Overwatch was like a pulling external information from the rest of the world. Um, but I've been using it after the last conversation as the thing that looks at the operation of the machine. It's like
All right, buddy. I feel like
it's
we
like the
just keep
pressure
getting stuck
gauge.
back in this loop again. We just get stuck back.
Yeah, that's probably because it's right. Uh, I think my view is where we came to last time is still correct.
Okay.
I'll be more precise in the naming
Okay.
and
Cool.
definitions
Cool.
of that. But
Cool.
um, the you're saying about actually no, that still works. Yeah, yeah. The thing I was adding onto it is that the fractal nature of it, in that you can use the same pattern all the way down to a single app, and it still works.
Why is the
Or you
Dreamcatcher
can
not a
take it
single
all the
app?
way up to the entire thing. Well, I'm thinking about an app that or um, a nap that runs um, to do a specific thing, and it's been generated by the Dreamcatcher. So it's like, okay, so for that nap, if you want to update that nap, same pattern.
Yeah, but when would that pattern be not applied? When would it be applied on a group of naps?
If you have a single nap, that's part of a group of naps. Those naps can be used as any part of a jitter. So you could run it the same pattern on a jitter,
No,
should you wish.
no, because a jitter is just in time, whereas a nap is something that goes through a release process.
Yes, but the pattern of it is the jitter is you bring a bunch of naps together. Artifacts are not going to change very often. Um, so you've got that. The jitter has got maybe it's nothing to do with weights, maybe it's something else, but it's got some kind of outcome, and you've got an external thing checking, going, is this change that you're going to imply on this better or worse? So you start to converge on exceptionally good um, nap um, uh, combinations in order to do stuff that is roughly the same thing. Give me a weather app that tells me whether I should go off and buy pizza tonight by walking or whatever you want to do. Um, but the what I'm saying is the pattern is uh, inherently fractal. It's not uh, just something that sits at the top or doesn't need to sit at the top.
I think it simply sits at the app level, and there's no top or there's no bottom. It's like the smallest unit in our system is the nap, and that's the level that this system sits at. Your nap can depend on other naps. That's fine, but ultimately to release a new version or the next version of any given nap is this simple process. I don't think there's any time when you would think of that as big or small or anything. It's just one simple level, nap, the nap level.
Yeah, but what we're talking about, yes, the other day was that you take naps together, for example, inside of the Dreamcatcher, and we were talking about attribution that requires weights. Where do those weights come from? They come from an iterative process of improvement, of self-improvement, without anyone having to, monkey around with the weights. They're not human set.
Yeah,
So in order to do
that's
that,
just a pull
you need
request.
something.
That's just a pull request, and it's nothing more complicated than that once it gets down to that level. It can be vast, it can be
Exactly.
big, it
Yeah.
can be a lot of data, but it's still just the same level. It's like this nap. Here's a pull request to release a new version of this nap. Is that better or
Yep.
worse?
And yeah, but also in this, using this pattern, I've been thinking about this pattern as something that can be applied universally at every level, where Dreamcatcher is just one level. There's
Well,
one
what's an
way of
example of another
using
level?
this.
I don't see it as multi-level at all. It's just there's only one level, is what I thought our collapse was.
Um, uh, well, Dreamcatcher can produce naps to produce itself, which would be another Dreamcatcher.
Another iteration of Dreamcatcher, do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now
So,
remember, what I'm not saying. This is not day one, right? But you're asking, what I've been thinking about is about the robustness of the pattern. And the pattern seems to be pretty robust.
all right, well, let's leave it at that.
Right.
What's the purpose of the pattern? Like, what are we uh what's the word for it? How are we applying this? How are we using this? What are we going to do once we have this thing? We agree that we're going to have this thing soon. It certainly looks that way.
Um,
Then what?
give me 2 secs. Sorry. Uh, Right, I may need to go quite soon.
All right. Oh, well, let's wrap it up there, and I'll
Sorry.
start the upload on the
Yeah. I can answer that question on or off. Doesn't matter.
Okay. Tell me.
The reason behind it is what we didn't want to do is to have, well, on day one, sure, we can choose the weightings and what's important inside of Dreamcatcher. But very quickly, we want to put it under AI to choose what's important. And so it's that those three seem to be, certainly with.
That's not answering my
mapping.
question.
Okay, restate your question, please.
You said that this fractal thing applies at all levels, and I asked you, I thought there was only one level. Where's this extra level coming from?
The extra level is as many levels as you want, but this is not a day one thing. We're doing Dreamcatcher, but the same pattern applies.
No,
like to any.
Tell me another level. Tell me one other level.
Well, I just did.
No, you didn't.
You want to use Dreamcatcher to create a bunch of naps to make dark Dreamcatcher.
How is that a different level? That's just the same thing. You're just making naps one at a time. You're making other naps that combine a bunch of them. Where's the level thing you're talking about?
Say if you wanted to create. I'm not sure this is a very productive.
Well, no, but that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. Because I'm like, you're like, oh, levels.
It's conceptual.
You're like, it applies at all levels, and I'm like, tell me a level, and you're like, I don't really have a level.
Right.
Like, so I don't think that it does apply at multiple levels because I don't think there are multiple levels.
Okay. Well, here's one. And again, I'm not suggesting we do this at all, but I was kind of just testing, is this robust? An AI that creates naps on the fly outside of Dreamcatcher still needs those three things. So
why would
by
it be
creating naps, I mean write code.
Yeah, but why would that, just because it's outside of Dreamcatcher, is that what makes it a different level?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yeah,
a different level, but that's doing the same thing. It's just doing it with a different set of who's in control, right?
yeah, well, maybe a level is a bad word for it, but basically what I'm saying is that model is robust, in my view.
Okay.
And can be deployed in quite a number of different areas that are not Dreamcatcher. But
well, it's I agree with that. It just it also sounds like we sort of took it from areas that aren't Dreamcatcher, which is like basic software management. I just want to check that well, change control management, right? Those are the change control is you could do change control in a number of different realms, like hardware, software, servers, operating systems, car parts, but change control as a principle still applies the same all around. Is that kind of what you were getting at?
Yeah. Only how do you automate that and allow the
automated
AI
change
to
control?
Add in a new metric, for example, to be considered in this. You know, let's take Dreamcatcher just as the one thing we're doing. So
hang on.
That,
hang on. So if you want to you're talking about change control as the general thing, and then there are different areas of speciality within change control, where one of the more heavily policed areas might be upgrading the thing within the change control system that determines what better or worst is. Yeah?
Shit, sorry, man. I think I'm really
Oh, you
getting
gotta run?
multiple incomings. Can I do? Max has got an interview, and I think he's wanting to get set up. He's got
Okay.
3
Oh, well,
hours yet.
we can call
He's
it
just
there.
gonna keep on fucking 3 hours yet. He's just gonna keep on fucking
All right, let's call it there.
3 hours yet.
I'll stop the recording.
He's just gonna keep on